Hello everybody and welcome to Cause and Effect, a show about VTES. This is part 2 of episode 5, and if you have missed the first part, I suggest that you huddle back and watch it before watching this part, because we're probably going to reference stuff that we said earlier. Anyway, today we have a very special guest. Otso, the winner of this year's EC, is here, and now we're going to talk about the deck that made him immortal in the winning deck archives. So, could we bring it up, please?
It's up.
Okay, so, Otso, sorry.
Yeah.
What are we watching?
So this is a Gurugi Rush Combat deck with a heavy master module and some bleeding. The main vampires are Nani Lavera and Nana Buruku. And it sort of relies on the inherent abilities as well as the combat package provided by animalism and potence.
Okay. Where do you get the idea from the deck?
This is a variation of this deck based on Ville Kajasaari's deck, with which he had a rather good success. He played at the Ropicon tournament this year as well as the Swedish Nationals, and he got 5 game wins in 2 tournaments with it, although no tournament wins, but nevertheless an impressive feat.
Yeah. Okay, I thought we should start by examining the crypt a little bit and then watching taking a closer look at the library. So, when examining the crypt, of course, as you said, Nana Buruku and Nagila Bere are the stars. Adam, do you want to tell us a little bit about Nana Buruku?
Sure. Nana Buruku is new master phase action vampire from what's he called?
Ebony Kingdom.
Ebony Kingdom, yeah. Like master phase action, +1 hand size, and superior income for a cap 8. It's like a really efficient, focused vampire. It doesn't have any extraneous things in it, and powerfully allocated vampire points, or what you want to call it. Which this deck makes really good use of. Everything is so good about this vampire in this deck.
Okay.
Yeah. The hand size thing it's not as obvious, but plus hand size is probably best for combat decks. Like, they get the most gain out of it. Like in the part 1, also you mentioned saving up cards in your hand during the part game. Yeah,
that is true. As combat tends to be so card intensive, it's really beneficial for you if you get to play with a 9 card hand size. You can plan your turns further ahead of the combat. And it really gives you the flexibility to combine these different elements of the deck together and get them to function really.
Yeah. And also, you said 9 cards there, of course, because we have Nagila Bere, who also has plus a hand size and a built-in rush.
Yes.
Yeah, do you find any problems with bringing out it's kind of high cap vampires and starting rushing? How does that work?
It might be a problem, I think, but at least in the EC, I didn't face all that aggressive decks, or decks that would have been so aggressive early on. So it worked out fine. But I think the villains and the potential of getting founders of the Ebony Kingdom might balance it out, but you have the time to bring out these vampires and get your game going. Of course, it is a bit slow, especially early on, and you have to make that up in the late game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isaac?
Yeah, because for me, the point that you stressed here, and I want to stress it even more, is the slowness of the deck. Because all I see is like turn 5, you have your 2 guys in play. So they can start acting turn 6, both of them. And for me, that is very slow.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in a meta where at least there's a decent amount of moments of bleed and you have no bouncing capabilities, you have a few intercept cards, but you can only basically block like a very, very light stealth deck. You will not be able to. I think the stream closed.
It says it's still streaming, hey?
Okay, let me go on.
Can I ask you a question also?
Yeah.
Did you try this out, or any reason why you don't include crypt acceleration? Since you say it's slow, like with Silicon Valley or Information Highway, or even Dreams?
I think the card slots are, or the slots for the master cards are really scarce. But actually, I intended to play 2 greens in this deck, as in for acceleration, but mainly for the ability to manipulate your hand and to get rid of combat or get more combat if needed, to be able to balance better the aspects of this deck. But it actually turned out that making last morning additions and such is not such a good idea. I ended up with handing out a deck list with 2 dreams in it, and with a deck that did not have the dreams. Yeah, this is a sign of my professionalism. Yeah. And I noticed it after round 2. I was wondering how come I hadn't drawn any dreams, and it turned out that I didn't have dreams in my deck. I went to Pascal to ask him what to do, and he was like, "Okay, do you have 2 dreams?" I was, "Yes, I do. Just get them ready, and I'll check the rules, what we'll have to do." And the streak lining would be that you get a game loss for the 3rd round, and you get to modify your deck to correspond to the deck list that you handed out.
That's what the rule says.
Yeah, that's what the rule says. But he consulted Johannes Wolf, and together they reached a conclusion that I just have to play the deck that I brought to the game, and they modify the deck list to be concurrent with the deck I play. So it was almost cost me like 1 round of the tournament, and that would have been kind of really bad. But in the end, I got 0 points during the 3rd round, so it might not have mattered, but it was nevertheless really stupid of me. I was just too tired going to the third day, and I was just sort of hating this game. It made me happy. And I think this might be better with 2 dreams for acceleration, but especially for the hand management.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But could you, like, is it correct to say that your reason is that you embrace your slowness? You're just like, I don't want to dilute this deck even further. It's just gonna be a slow deck, and I'm fine with that. Is that like?
Yeah, sort of just letting other players to play their game, and then having the impact from the turn 5 on, and hope it is enough.
Okay. When you played it, do you bring out Nanobruk first, or how do you manage?
Of course, it depends on the amount of transfers and such, but mostly it depends on the starting hand. If I get Founders of Ebony Kingdom, which I did at least 2 out of 3 preliminary rounds, perhaps 3, I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Then Nangila should probably come out first and try to play Founders and Nana and get out 1 turn faster and with a 4-3 pool.
Yeah. Okay. Have you ever thought about? That makes the deck a lot faster when that happens. Have you ever thought about bringing in more Founders of the Ebony Kingdom?
Yeah, perhaps after the tournament, I was surprised how good they were actually. But I think it has a somewhat high opportunity cost, as you don't have all that many different vampires to use it on. So I probably wouldn't dilute the deck further by adding more of those.
Okay.
I have a question for the crypt.
Yeah.
It's very Gruhuri clan discipline focused, the crypt, but when I see the library, presence doesn't seem that important to me. There's only 4 presence cards, and 2 of them entrancement, and entrancement are great, and 2 of them are public trusts. In my opinion, or the way I see it, they could have at least the 2 public trusts might as well been deep songs, and you could make a deck that is less focused on the 3 clan disciplines and more focused on animalism and potence and get a more diversified crypt. What's your reasoning behind keeping so strict to the Gruhuri clan?
Yeah, I'd like to answer this by asking a question. What exactly are the vampires you would put in the crypt if you use only animalism and potence?
At least changing 1 Nagila Vera for Gustav Brunel would be my first thought, and Enkidu got potent and animalism too, and built-in rush and 3 strength.
Yeah.
So he also seems kind of decent.
Yeah.
That's just my initial thoughts.
Yeah. I tried this deck with more masters and only animalism and potence, and larger vampires playing at least Enkidu, and it's some crypt acceleration with a Zillasali, but it turned out that it was sort of slow with the hand manipulation. It had too many masters, and you have to go through the Asher tablets at least once to get enough combat cards in your deck so that you could actually do much. So I sort of liked this one better, and I think the presence is not all that important, but I would have been happy to if I would have had perhaps 1 more public trust to get a bit more payload to this deck.
Okay.
Aerovelation is not an option?
Yeah?
Or is aerovelation is not an option? Or is it too risky to bleed for more than 3?
I think it's sort of risky. It would be an option, but of course it's rather bad with inferior presence. And often I used the small guys like Fish or Forder to use the public trust or the for 3. So.
Okay.
How important is the built-in rush in Nagila? Use it a lot, or?
Yeah, I think it's rather important to get either Nangila or the Gustav out, as this is actually a rather large deck, 79 cards with 9 archers, no liquidations, so and only 6 transient rushes. So it's and of course the powerless Luanda, which gives the rush. But it's rather important to get a permanent rush on the table, and you can't rely on getting the rushes out of the library cards.
Are there any more thoughts about the crypt before we move on?
Not really, no.
Adam?
No, I feel done.
Huh? Okay, sweet. Okay, I thought we were going. Let's talk a little bit about the combat package before we go into the rest of the deck, because it's the main part. So, do we have it up? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we looking at, Otso?
So this is basic animals and potions combat. The usual suspects of carrion crows and immortal grapple, torn signpost, and tail of veto, being the bread and butter. And you also have some silver bullets against different types of decks. This has almost no maneuvers and opts to go for ranged strikes instead. I think that's something that the large hand size enables you to have one card slot to have a thrown Sewerlid in your hand just to wait if your opponent maneuvers. And I think it is not as optimized as it could be, but it is able to dish out a lot of damage if you use all your combat cards. But if you do that, you have to use some time to replenish them and play other cards, so it's usually rather bad. So use your combat sparingly. Usually one carrion crows or one torn signpost is enough for combat, and plan the combats ahead.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think what you say about playing conservatively with combat cards only works in a meta that is very villain heavy, because most people will villain their vampires and go to 5 blood or less, and then you don't need as much combat to actually torporize them. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that is true. If your prey brings 11 cap after 11 cap, and you have to hit them for 12 to get them to Torbor, it's going to be rather arduous task with this combat package. You don't have all that much of that consistent huge amount of damage. You get to do that a few times and that's it. But otherwise it is sort of at its best against vampires at something like 4 blood or something.
Is there any combat that trumps this combat?
It is rather solid, but I guess that troop dogs with striking 3 aggravated damage is going to be really bad for this. But
but that's bad for everyone. So.
Yeah.
But you could handle, for instance, Dragon Breath rounds deck.
In the preliminary rounds I couldn't, but I think I might have had a chance if I went its initial prey. This deck sort of needs to get its minions and the permanents on the table. After that, it is 50-50 ball game, I think. But it was just too fast for me, that game, as I was the initial prey of the Dragon Breath rounds deck.
Adam, do you have any thoughts on the combat machinery?
Did you ever consider adding drawing out the beast, and if you did, why didn't you include it?
I don't know what the benefit would actually be. It makes your opponent hit you harder, and if you play it, they can maneuver the next combat. It's I think it's better to go with just the ranged strikes against maneuvers. Of course, if you have drawing on the beast, you can count that you are going to be able to torpedo the minion, but in the long run, I think this is more efficient.
Yeah.
How crucial are your taste of VTES?
They are, of course, they fuel the vampires, as they often do in combat decks. It is very crucial, I think, that you can use prevention to help you stay until the press step to play Taste of VTES. And that makes you last combat after combat.
Okay. I have a question. You said that the combat package were with crude. What would you change? Like primarily, what parts didn't you like with it?
I think actually, at least the glancing blow was no good for me in tournament. I'm not so sure about the stun cycle. It would have been great at least a few times, and it's good against animals combat, but and I think you might add as one target vitals. It is a great card even in this deck where you have like 2 disciplines to dish out damage. It is good to have one more additional force just to get you the option to do even more damage in one round.
Yeah, because with the Torn Sliding Post, the target vitals, the slam, and a carrion crows, you can dish out like 9 damage in one round.
Yeah.
And then in mortar grapple on that, so it actually is 9 damage.
Would you say that's like a big advantage of the deck? That all the combat cards, well, almost all the combat cards can be like combined with the other combat cards?
Yeah, I think this is what makes this difference from basic animals combat, and it makes this deck able to sort of trump a lot of other combat packages that rely on several rounds of combat, like rock cats, which I faced several times, or animals, or even gunners, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, because they rely on psych to do it again.
It is not that important against combatant decks, as you have immortal grapples and you can just play grapple and dish out 5 and 5 and something like that. But it is also good against them.
Okay. Any more thoughts about the combat, or should we move on? Okay. Let's talk about your masters. I see, like at first glance, you use 9 Azure tablets and you don't have any liquidation in the deck. What gives?
Yeah, that is true. This was actually adopted from Vila's playing style. I sort of, when I made the last morning inclusions, and I was thinking about putting in liquidations, but I didn't have space for them in the master section. I didn't really find that many masters here that I could crop.
Okay.
But I know that this deck can be built with liquidations, and it is good. It gives you some extra pool to use as buffer and bring out new minions, and gives you some flexibility.
For me, the biggest advantage with liquidation being that the first set of Azure tablets, it's easier to make that first set a very good set. Like, if you have more stuff in your Ash heap, obviously you have more stuff to choose from when you trigger the first. Depending on, do I need bleed, do I need rushes, do I need animalist combat, do I need ranged combat, do I need grapples, etc., etc.
Yeah, that is true, but if you play only Azure tablets, you usually, or at least I play the way that you use like the master phase actions that you have when you have no minions, for vampires on table, you play Asher Tablets, and after that you can use a round or two to discard Asher Tablets, at least as long as there are no other Asher Tablets on the table, and just play your other masters and get stuff into your discard pile, and then when you have something useful there, then you can use them. But I rarely use them only for pool or something like 3 cards. Or
you want like the Asher Tab set to actually give you those 10 plus cards? Yeah,
because I think the benefit of Asher Tablets in a deck like this is that it sort of balances out the card ratios during the game. In the beginning of the game, you can play a lot of master cards, and you have like one vampire on the table. He or she is not going to use all that much minion cards, and in the late game you can use the Asher Tablets to make your library more minion card heavy, so it sort of balances out the deck during the game.
Okay. So the more minions you get, the more Asher Tablets you use, and the more minion cards you get in the library. So the library constantly reflects the amount of minions you have in play.
Yeah, that's true.
How many times did you get to use all 9 Asher Tablets ever?
Never.
Because that's like what I think in playing without liquidation, that means that you won't be able, as you say, you want to wait a bit until you have an Ash heap that you can use Asher Tablet beneficially.
Yeah.
And to me, I would think 6 Asher Tablets without liquidation. Do you agree with this, or do you feel like you need in some cases, like when the game goes on longer, it's also a consideration that you wanted 9 or?
Yeah, I usually build my decks with no liquidation and 6 Asher Tablets. I just use this fearless concept, and I think it's good against other Asher Tablets decks, obviously. But you could play only 6 of them, and I think this deck would be equally good with that.
How many times do you trigger them per game? Do you get to?
Usually I think I trigger them once or twice. Yeah. But I think the second time it didn't really matter. Never. So yeah.
Okay, something that isn't exactly a master, but you have chosen not to include Anterios in the deck.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I don't think this deck has all that many masters that you can recycle. Yeah. You can recycle Pentax and Fame has Archon Investigation, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So this deck doesn't benefit all that much from it, but some deck that can play Golconda is going to be it's going to be very bad if I provide him the way to Golconda his minions for free or something.
One card that I was wondering about is the Guardian Angel.
Yeah.
I usually don't include Guardian Angel in any of my decks.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
I think it was surprisingly good. At least I like it a lot. It makes it is rather important to be able to go into combat and prevent 1 damage, whether with the well-marked or Guardian Angel. It gives you a lot of survivability in the long run, and it's going to save a lot of blood. And the Guardian Angels help to be able to play the Tales of VTES. So it really gives you a lot of more blood and survivability. I didn't use it for the intercept against lead actions special all that much, but I think that might be handy, useful.
So the biggest benefit the Guardian Angel is actually the prevent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because it makes sense, because you play villain, and if you have Guardian Angel, you can villain your vampires harder. Yeah. Because you don't need to save the blood for potential combats.
Yeah. But one thing with this deck is that at least the way I play this is that I don't villain my vampires all that hard. Even though I have like Lily's Blessing on the table, I still use Villain mostly to bring my vampires to, or the main vampires to something like 4 blood, to give some room to play combat and taste afterwards. I use like Lilith as a last resort when my vampire is at lower than 3 blood. It's good to get back to 3 blood. It's with some prevention. It's sort of a safe amount, and you can go to combat yet again and hopefully take yourself back to life.
Okay. Adam, do you have any more thoughts?
No, I think it's really smart actually, the thing you said about Lily's Blessing, that you like use it intelligently. You don't like blindly relay for everything.
Yeah.
I'm presuming you will relay for a lot if you're low on pool and you have a Kindred Spirit spell speed behind you.
Yeah, of course.
But like most of the time, it's actually not needed. The blood is more valuable.
Yeah.
So that's I like that a lot.
How did Valid View work for you?
For me, it is a stable card. I use it in a lot of decks and often several copies. And I think it speeds the late game, giving you the vampires you want, and it also balances out the unlucky crit draws. So, and it is like a 1 pool investment, and you get 2 back if you're in a tight spot, and as people don't often take that into account, that you have like 2 pools sitting there, even though you're at like 10 pool, and it helps you like recuperate if you're hit for some pool damage. So I think it's a very good and versatile card, and it sort of minimizes the luck factor on trip draw.
Yeah, but my views on wider view is I'm not a big fan at all. I like more or less never play it, but for me it's too much of a dead card if you follow. Like you play it and maybe you use like the draw new vampire stuff once, and then you burn for 2 pool and then you're done.
Yeah.
So because it takes an entire influence phase to get 2 pool back, and at one point sooner or later you probably have to do that, so you don't gain that much, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, but assuming that you have at least 1 duplicate of some crit card in your opening crit, you're going to get for 1 pool you're going to get like the 1 pool investment and usage of 4 transfers for just 1 transfer, getting new vampire. And you can really, if you really want some vampire that is good for the situation, for example, you need a small Guruhi to play a Founder Zone, you can just go through your crypt in 2 turns and get the one you need. I think it is, I like it, but sometimes it might not be so good. But
I'm actually like with Isaac in reality, I never used Wider View, but I'm actually thinking like there should be use in a few decks, and I'm imagining this is like the case where it's the most useful. You have, say, 2 vampires that you want out, so you have a lot of them, and they're like, as you say, you're almost guaranteed to have a duplicate of some kind.
Yeah.
But you also really, really need like a 3rd and maybe even a 4th minion, because combat is so much about minion superiority that like the only other option is recruitment, and it costs a lot of pool.
Okay. How many? That brings up a valid point, Adam. I believe. How many minions do you usually have during a game? Also.
How many minions I do?
Yeah.
3, I guess.
Okay.
At the end of the game, it's 3, perhaps 4, but it's sort of late game at that point.
Questions about the reactions?
Okay, let's go to the reactions.
I see this reaction package, and delaying tactics makes sense to me. I even think that maybe one is too few, maybe play 2 or 3. But like the Sense the Savage Way and the Cat's Guidance, for me it's just like one intercept, and one intercept rarely helps. You see my point? Like those 6 cards could be put down to 2, 3 cards, and then you have a few more slots available. Or how do you see it? How do you use them?
Yeah, you could drop them, but of course it depends on the meta. If you anticipate a meta where one intercept makes all the difference, which I did, and it did, I think, in the or the day 2, I think this is good to have some ability to intercept. Like Anson playing parity shift.
Or Lords.
Yeah.
Untaps are often good if you are bled cross table for you get bounced for something like 6 or something. People usually don't want to get past you, so one intercept might be enough.
Yeah, that's true. Have you ever considered playing Lost in Translation?
Actually, I didn't. I did never consider it, but you could play it, I guess. If you really like the card, but hopefully, if you have a leading predator, you'll be able to squish him and regain some pool. But of course, if you have like two lead decks, hunting is going to be somewhat hard.
Yeah.
As often with rush decks.
Yeah. But DI, did you ever consider adding that for deflections and possibly other cards?
I did. I really like DI, and this. I think this deck would have yet again the card slots in your hand to keep it until it's used to the best in the best situation. But the master cards, I didn't really. I wasn't able to drop any of these, so I chose not to play it. But
go on.
As after the tournament, I have to say that I don't think the Ember market Harara is all that good.
Okay.
It does pay itself off, but it's often rather late in the game.
Okay.
So because it's a 3-pool investment, so like the 4th turn after you play it, you actually gain the pool.
Yeah.
And considering that VTES is about 12 rounds of play, so if you draw it too late, then you probably won't make a profit out of it.
Yeah, of course, if you draw it in your starting hand, it's going to be really good as you get extra transfers and something like 9 pool during the whole game.
Yeah.
But
maybe Dreams is better then.
Yeah, I think Dreams might be better.
Quickly the actions, and then a little bit more broadly about the deck. So we're looking at some deep song entrancements and such.
Yeah.
What do you think about when you put up the actions?
I sort of went with a Villas version. I dropped some. I think he had a shaman there, and one was entrancement. The entrancements were actually really good, of course, even without additional stealth. I think you could play one more public trust, perhaps, just to get some more outing power. But otherwise, I think it's sort of solid.
Yeah. Another thought concerning the entrancement and possibly or mostly the deep song, it's the Monastery of Shadows to get stealth rushes, because a stealth rush is so powerful.
And you also get another hand size.
Yeah, 10 hand size is too cool. What do you think about that also?
Yeah, that's actually an interesting suggestion. Of course, the cost of free pool is quite a lot, but I think it might be worth it. It just might.
Pardon?
I like the entrancement a lot in this deck. I'm like when I'm playing Rush, Jakes are everywhere. All I see is Jake. So this is like entrancement is like a rush that makes you get an extra minion instead of just removing it from the other player, and also other allies, of course. Allies are like really usually put in the way of rushes. Like Particulars and other raids are really bad for rush decks.
Yeah.
So I like them a lot. It's like theoretically I like the entrancement a lot in this deck.
I was just thinking about, I think we maybe discussed it, the public trust, deep song and entrancement, all the bleed actions. Why don't you use Revelation? Because then you can bleed with the deep song if you have one over and use it.
Yeah, that's true. That would give some extra lunge capabilities, but the problem is that there are like only the star vampires, the two vampires have a superior presence, and Air of Elation at inferior presence is just a very weak card. So that's why the actions rather than the action modifiers.
Moving on then. What do you say, like, how do you play this deck? What is the main, strategy when playing this deck?
Of course, it depends so much on the table, but hopefully if everything is going your way, you can just let your prey do some pool damage on his prey, and you just bring out the vampires and bloat and perhaps hit your predator for some to cripple him sort of, and bleed for small amounts, and hopefully then you'll be able to rush your prey, kill his minions out with bleed, and rinse and repeat. So,
ideally, do you wait with rushes till the 4-player game, the 3-player game, or just start rushing like straight away in the 5-player game? When I mean excessive rushing, of course, if you have a very dangerous predator, you need to put him down. But like, when do the real rushing start, if ever?
It depends so much on table dynamics, but I did often rush in 5-player game when I played the day 2. That's because the games were somewhat slow and no people were getting ousted, so I had to start doing my thing. But otherwise, I guess you can wait. You don't have to start killing vampires straight away unless they are doing you pool damage or giving your prey more pool. So
is it a problem if your prey gets the first kill, and then you have to wait for him to take down his next prey's pool before you start punishing him, or how do you do that?
Not really. I think it's okay if your prey gets a VP. With this kind of deck, with so much sort of staying power and sort of slow, it's good if people start to leave the table early on. Okay. That gives you more turns, and probably you'll be closer to a game win. Nevertheless, as you can often just put so much pressure on your prey's vampires that they end up in torpor anyway. So.
Okay. So, what do you think is the biggest strength of the deck?
I think the biggest strength is its ability to fight other combat decks.
Cool.
So it's basically like trumps against combat.
Yeah,
So
that was sort of my idea when I took the deck. But it is rather solid. It is maybe a bit slow. It's going to be hard to get a lot of VPs and game wins with it. Although Ville has done a great job at it. But
this is like the perfect choice for day 2 at least. Because you don't need as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you will have problem with the high cap, vote, power bleed, weenie, stealth bleed kind of decks.
Yeah, perhaps.
Because one banishment feels like that could be the nail in the coffin and it's game over, if you follow me.
Yeah, that might be, but then again, you often keep your main vampires within the 4 blood of their maximum capacity, so you can bring them out in one turn, nevertheless.
No, so you keep like the banishment threat in mind when playing.
Yeah, of course. Of course, if there are such decks, you have to play accordingly.
Yeah, of course.
If you are able to afford the pool for it.
Yeah. So, what are the biggest drawback with this deck then? What kills it?
I
think, yeah.
Something you talked about earlier that I feel with rush decks is that if you have your first predator as like a really aggressive deck that you need to rush, and then your next predator is a really aggressive deck as well.
Yeah, that is true.
That's like the bane of all rush decks in my experience.
Yeah. Or any deck that has a sort of proactive handling of its predator.
Yeah, that's true. Goes for banishment and mind reflex as well.
Yeah.
I was just wondering as well, how much do you bloat? Is it bloating a big part of staying alive, or is it like backrushing?
Yeah, it's good to have be able to gain more pool. It gives you some sort of buffer. You don't have to kill everyone. But if it seems that your predator is doing too much pool damage, you just have to go backwards. But that is also sort of strength in this deck, having these two aspects. With the liquidations, this deck would bloat even more, but...
any last thoughts on like this version of the deck, or should we go on for a quick look at some other variations of this theme?
Yeah, I guess we are done with this.
Okay. Yeah. Is that,
I'm agreeing.
Yes, I agree.
Enough.
Yeah. Okay, Adam, take us away.
Okay. I'm bringing up now the Girls Will Find AIDS deck, which is like
very politically correct.
It's like the girls deck, which was modified with animalism combat instead. Which is quite similar in like the Asher tablets and the Crypt department, but it has like the biggest differences is of course the combat. It's only 20 cards of combat cards and no potents. So like the Otso deck could do with 9 damage. We decided on 9 damage
in one round.
Yeah, and this one can only do 5, and that's with a single copy of target items. Otherwise, it's 3 each round, and it does not have the defense against Majesty in Immortal Grapple. So it's more like as Exinia as an advantage, and more Masters as an advantage, and worse combat as a disadvantage.
I have to ask Otso, have you ever played Girls Will Find AIDS? I have never played it, and I actually have never played against it at least played by a very good player. So I have somewhat little experience on this deck.
Okay. But basically, it's a girl's deck. If you feel threatened, you bring out Xenia the Claw first. Otherwise, you bring out one of the... It's very dependent on what you face as a predator. You have to be very good at reading people. So if you want to deflect, you need to bring out the predator. If you need to bloat more or start with that monster heavy hand, you have to start with one of the master face action girls. Otherwise, you bring out one of the 4 guys with a permanent rush and start rushing away. Because as Adam touched on, since you don't have any mortar grapples, you have to start to rush right away if you expect any sort of combat defense. Because you have to cycle all the magices away. You have to be even more proactive than an ordinary rush deck, or like a Poton's rush deck, I'd say.
Yeah, just looking at this list, I mean, isn't it a big problem with just drawing masters and not enough combat to be able to fuck people up? Oh, sorry, language.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it might be a problem. You actually need the first set of Asher tablets very early on. But when you've done your first set of Asher tablets and you shuffle like 13 combat cards back into the deck, you're good to go.
Yeah.
But I think, and also, I don't know if you agree, but I think the biggest advantage this deck compared to your easy winning deck is, first off, is Xenia. That's very great to have the bounce. The other part being that you have more bloat, because this is also a liquidation deck, and you have the crit acceleration. So you will actually start rushing and deflecting and using extra master phase actions much earlier on. Like this is 5 Silas Valley, 2 Information Highway, and 2 Dreams. That's 9 cards in 68. That's a big percentage when you're talking crit acceleration.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts about this deck compared to the other deck?
No. We could talk all day long about how the girls deck work, but I don't think that's for this episode. So I think, at least for me, that's all the differences between Otso's deck and
yeah. Okay, we have
the advantage with the bounce, this might be obvious, but since you have Xenia and you have Lost in Translation, you actually don't have to back rush as much as you have to do if you have an aggressive predator with Otso's deck. You can just use that aggressive predator to your advantage and start rushing your prey.
Yeah. But I mean, you won't rush as effectively, as we pointed out. Yeah, and let's look at this Mihago Pisha. Adam, you
the Spanish deck?
Yeah. Mihago Bishobola, maybe.
Anyone who knows what that means?
I guess bicho is bitch, but just me guessing. I have no idea. Should have probably Google translated before.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This deck is kind of ridiculous, but awesome.
Yeah, well, what is it then? Exactly.
It's Nana Baruko mid-cap animalism rush deck. And you can see for yourself, it's ridiculous, like 49 combat cards and mostly just Eat from Bads and Carrion Crows. And Deep Song.
It's focused, I'd say.
Very, very focused. It's great. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, have you played this kind of deck?
Not all that much, but I'd imagine it is really consistent, being able to rush and play crows and aids and crows and aids and really has so many copies of this key card that it's going to be able to do it really many times each turn.
Yeah, Deep Song is really so ridiculously good.
I guess how you play this deck is that you villain for everything and use Lilith's Blessing. I guess that's why there's so many villains and so many Lilith's Blessing.
Yeah.
The animalism doesn't cost any blood, more or less. 2 Song in the Dark, but you have 5 pace, so...
Yeah, and you have the vessels, so worst case you can take like the blood back from your pool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm not sure what to say. I'm guessing you're playing this like really aggressively. The thing you said about bringing out a rush vampire, trying to draw out all the magicians. You do this, but probably 3 times as fast with this deck. And the only thing I see is like, it is like a Kindred Spirits deck in a lot of ways. That you bring out weenies and do lots of shit and people get angry at you. That's what I would be afraid about.
Was this the kind of deck that was in the Legendary Vampires finals? Or did he play the Girls Who Find AIDS deck? Do you remember, Otso?
It was a Nana Buroku with the smaller vampires.
No Axinia.
I think he actually played Axinia, but I think so.
So there was a blend between those two.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It was not sort of a girls deck. I think he did not have the Cybele or the Permanent Rushes, so it was more of a animalism master deck with more deep songs, I guess.
Yeah, and Axinia for defense.
Yeah.
All of these are like combat rush decks, and that's like
with masters.
With masters. It's really hard to play combat. I believe like it's really hard to rush. Do you have like any tips, Otso, on what should you do when you play combat?
It really requires you to be able to sort of anticipate how the different scenarios play out in the table. So you need to know when you use your rushes and just try to kill someone, and when you can just let them use their resources and kill them later.
Kind of like block deck. In that way, you have to know a lot about the table and know your limits, what you can do.
Yeah, I think so. It is somewhat challenging deck type to play.
At least in my opinion, is the most difficult archetype to play, because you have to be so proactive to do something about the table, and because you have to be so proactive, you also have to be able to read the table more or less like a god. You have to know what everybody is playing and what their game plan is, and how they will react to you when you start rushing them or don't start rushing them.
And of course, you always get like table hate when you rush other people's vampires and you like destroy other people's game.
Well, that's like the case when you're playing in a like a bleed or vote aggressive meta. Then the bleed and vote decks want the rush deck out. But if you're playing like if there are 4 combat decks on the table, it's the bleed or the vote deck which is going to be the threat.
Yeah, because they have like the relationship between the bleed vote on the one hand and the rush on the other hand is neither deck type can handle a table with the other on.
I think if they were cowboys, that town wouldn't be big enough for the both of them.
No, exactly.
You're right.
I apologize.
Okay, so I thought we were going. Are we going to wrap up this session of the analysts of the?
We have like the challenge.
After
this.
Before that, we were going to ask you guys a question. What is the main thing that you learned that you like took with you from the EC? Otso, you can begin.
I think the main thing I sort of learned at this EC is not to shy away from doing some radical cross-table action or something that you think you need to do to win the game. I think in my first EC in Paris, it was I didn't have the balls to play dementia on my cross-table buddies, Trifles and Golconda here afterwards, and that kind of shyness cost me some VPs at least.
Yeah.
So I think that was a good lesson to learn, to play your best even with very good opponents.
Exactly.
I come to realize that I'm actually very, very bad at like table talking and making people do stuff. Maybe that's not necessarily good for me, or at least not making stuff that's bad for me. I ended up in a lot of situations where I didn't have the skill or the balls or the ability to table talk. So I got that extra that you need to be able to win some games.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that I'm actually very bad at table talking. At least when it comes to English.
Yeah, language barrier, maybe.
Yeah, it could be that. But anyways, I think I can, with enough training, I could pull off better table talk.
Okay. Adam?
I'm like a player that normally likes focus decks, like in one direction or the other. And I feel like I had like an unrealistic view of how toolbox deck works, at least in the hands of others, before this EC. And after the EC, I feel like I have a more realistic view of the toolboxes.
Okay. What was your revelation?
Not like an actual revelation, but more like the strengths and the weaknesses and what people who choose to play toolboxes will be inclined to do and what they're able to do, and like which kind of players choose the toolbox decks as well. Because as you sit down on a table, you might realize this player is going to play this before you even seeing the cards, and this can help you. So I feel like I have a more like realistic view on how toolbox decks are going to work and not work.
Do you have a greater respect for toolbox decks now?
Yeah, well, in the areas that they are strong, and lesser respect in the areas that they are weak, like more realistically.
Okay. Cool. This week's challenge was 2 weeks ago actually. Was to build a deck consisting of both vampires and imbued. And the winner is, can we have one of those silly from Randyman gets to win. We can just have a quick look at the deck.
Okay, that's up.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, Adam, take it away, just quickly.
Alright. It has like the judgment imbued with some superior obfuscate. I'm presuming the lowest cap you could find with superior obfuscate. And it uses the imbued and vigilance is the freak drive power. To get laptops and bleed with cloak and veils. So it's like a stealth bleed imbued.
Yeah, exactly. And you have look, the special lets you draw cards as an action, so you can faster get your hands on the laptop and the J.S. Simmons and Tasha Morgan.
Yeah. Otso, do you have anything to add to seeing this deck list?
One thing to consider is that it is a really tight deck with 60 cards. I think that would probably make it more consistent in its play, but is it too small? What do you think?
Maybe you can always recycle like the stealth conviction, so you only have to play like the obfuscate stealth when they get an additional intercept. So I think this is doable.
Okay. Maybe you'd need some more permanents. I think that 18 convictions is quite a lot. I think you can get by with 5 of each and maybe 4 reacts. So maybe you could get by with 14 convictions, and that's 4 more cards. That could be allies. Like Gregor Winter has plus bleed, and this is another bleed ally. I like Wendell Del Burton because he won't be stolen. Like, you can get some permanence with those 4 cards that will give the deck a bit more longevity. But I think the imbutes are actually best played on 60 cards in almost all instances, at least without liquidation.
Yeah. And also, Angel of Berlin auto turn gives you an equipment, so that might be good since you're playing with laptops.
Oh, no angels. Okay.
Or Unity to recycle your bounces.
Yeah, anyway, I thought this was a good take on the matter at hand, and it's fun to see a bleed deck.
Yeah, the imbue bleeding.
Yeah, I think they have so much defensive capability as it is. They don't need more defense; they need more bleed. So this is like a good way to go with the deck, I think, or the archetype or whatever.
Okay, so congratulations, Randall Rudstrand. Next week, our challenge is on the courtesy of Otsos. We want you to build a deck featuring Shalma. Just take him up.
Yes.
Yeah. Since this is Otso's idea, maybe he could say something?
Yeah.
I think this vampire has a lot of potential, or it might have, with permanent untap and permanent untap for some anti-cold action or something, with all the sort of niche Tribria cards like Vaticanation or something. They're really powerful, but I think his problem is the sidekicks and what to actually do with them. So I think we've not seen really good decks around him, but I think with some collective thought, something might appear. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about his? Like, the untap ability is obviously very strong, but what do you think about his ability to put cards in your research area?
I'm afraid that is not so strong, but maybe someone can actually invent something that can use it, but putting the Trifle Masters, the developments, just to get the action cards from your research area and using an action to put them there, it's I don't think it's worth it. But I hope you prove me wrong.
Yeah, actually, one interesting idea with the Shalmat special to put cards there, because you can untap in each turn. So if you're building a bleed deck, you might get into a situation where you've already bled and you can untap him, but you don't have an action to do. You can slim your deck with his special for free.
Since you untap out the turn anyways.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's going to be really interesting to see what you guys can do with him, and we're looking forward to your contributions. So, that's it for this week's show. In the next few weeks, we will drop on our YouTube page, and we'll probably notify you on the forum and on the Facebook as well. A few interviews from the EC, plus a little special bonuses for you guys. And the 4th, I believe, we're going to be joined by Pascal, where we will be discussing the matter of Auspex weenies, which will be really interesting. Okay, so any parting words, guys?
Thank you for watching, obviously, and thank Otso for joining us for this really long session of VTES Talk.
Yeah.
Thank you. Really good to hear all your insights. You're a great player, and it's great to have you.
Yeah. It was nice to be here.
Yeah, I think you're so deserving of that win. You're you're a really good player. You couldn't ask for a more deserving player to win the EC. Congratulations.
Yeah. It was really nice having you come here and explain your thoughts on this. Really insight. I've learned a lot, actually.
Sure.
Okay. Well, that's it for this time. I want to thank everyone for watching. And remember, if you have any thoughts, comments, or idea, you can post them on our Facebook page or email us on the address below, causeampersandeffect@gmail.com. After the show, we will post a thread on the Beacon forum where you can further discuss what we have talked about today. And that's about it. So have a good week. And remember, kids, every action has a reaction. Goodbye.
Bye.
Say goodbye, guys.